Hey, Jeff in his pond. Checking in today. Wow, I just had a battle. Here I am, head to toe in my, I don't know if you can see it because I can't see, uh, in my chest waders. And I'll give heads up to those of you who do not like when I give spiritual meditations or principles or anything like that. I'll give you heads up. If you don't want to listen to this, you don't have to. I don't know that it's exactly completely spiritual. It's just life principle. Life principle. It's just the way it is. And when I'm digging in the dirt and pulling weeds and planting stuff, and when I'm down in the water planting stuff and things like that, it seems like God speaks to me even more and more directly. Not out loud, I don't hear the out loud thing. He tells us to listen for that still small voice. And I hope you guys can see this because the sun's on my right hand side and I don't know what time it is. It's probably 1 or so here in Pennsylvania. But anyway, let's get to what I wanted to tell you. I was so excited. Let me show you first. So I got to flip the camera around, all right, because you guys have seen enough of me. All right, now, those of you who have seen my videos and are followers of me, you've heard me talking about I got to get down in that pond and get rid of them pickerel. And look at that, the feather grass has started. Well, today's the day. I think it's supposed to be like 81 today or something like that. Well, that's a nice day we got. Well, I got down in there and I didn't know where to start, so I just kind of grabbed underneath the bottom and started pulling. And I felt stuff starting to give, and I got excited, and the more I pulled, I'm not going to say the easier it was, but I was making progress. And so what I want to share with you is don't let stuff go in your life that you know is wrong or whatever. Now, what you got to realize is I'm preaching to myself here as well, so don't think I'm pointing fingers. Because, this message is for me just as much as it is for you or the next guy. What I'm going to show you right here. This. Now, here. Let's do this. Okay. There is a knife, a kitchen, like a carving knife like you would use to carve a turkey. That's the comparison. That is one root bed that was on top of the stones. If you zoom in, you can see the stones that it encased. Now, I had to, let's move the knife. I was hoping to do this all in one. So you have that one over there, and then right here it stops. And so you have from here over to here. That was all one enormous clump of roots and tubers that I wanted to pull out on in one, but I physically could not do it. I had to go sharpen my knife that I keep in my landscape bucket and slice some of it until I could rip it apart. And here's more. And here's the first clump that I pulled up, and I could barely get this one up. That's the first big clump that I took out. And then this pile here, that just represents the handfuls that I picked and threw up there that, you know, came out pretty easy. Now, you heard me say about feather grass. Anybody that's a gardener, here's some feather grass. Some of it's still down there in the tip of the pond. I planted feather grass in 2014. It is now 2024. Oh, I'm gonna say 6 years ago. I don't know. I don't remember if I did a video on it or not, but I had to rent a backhoe to dig out the feather grass that I had planted. Follow my finger right there, and then down along the edge of the pond. I had to rent a backhoe to dig it out, and there were times that the backhoe had trouble getting it out. I'm sorry this is a long video, but this is very important to me and maybe to some of you. I don't know. That feather grass seeds laid in dormancy or whatever, and then all of a sudden this past year in the spring it just popped up and it grew like weeds. It grew like weeds. And you've heard me talk about that dang pickerel. Well, that's down there. See the little things that look like arrows? Well, they're not little things. That's an entire root system that I'm going after next. And here, I can't even see where I am here this time. You see those? Those are pickerel. Those pickerel came out of this corner of the pond. I'm going to back it out here. That corner of the pond. They, you know, somehow in the way that nature works, their seed got over there, just like the feather grass. Now, I have not seen the corner of that pond look like that since 2014, when I made this version of the pond. I had a pond that I dug before, but then I did the elite version, which I have now. I haven't seen it look like that since 2014. Originally, I planted some Japanese irises, just what those guys are. Those are the variegated. These other ones here that you see sticking up there, those are just, I don't know what you call them. They're just a plain or whatever, but you know, the generic models and not the fancy ones. And that's all I had there. And then I put here some of that sweet grass, the striped stuff that's laying in the water. Put that there, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. You would hear me talk about my irises and how they're popping and how beautiful they were and everything. Well, you know what? There's a place in the Bible, it's in the New Testament, where the disciples and Jesus were walking through, I think it was a wheat field, and they talked and said, Master, you know, somebody came through at night and sowed seeds of weeds and stuff, and should we pull out the weeds? And he's like, no, because if you pull out the weeds, you'll pull out the good grain as well. So just let them grow, and you know, they'll separate during the harvest. Well, harvest time was today, folks. Sometimes maybe it's harvest time in your life. That's one clump that I cut off of this clump right there. I struggled with this one. I had to cut it apart. I physically grunted and wailed like a weightlifter to get that out of the pond. I can lift a lot. And then that's the first chunk that I took out, along with all that other stuff that just came out by hand real easy. So my point is, I don't know, Ernest Hemingway or one of those old-time classic writers, he said It's the little foxes that spoil the grapes or grapevine or something like that. Don't let your life go unchecked. Don't let your life go unchecked. If there's stuff going on that you gotta confess to somebody and confess to God, do it. Here's your sign. Just do it. It hurt to do what I just did. I was at war. I got cuts and scrapes and yeah, I'm bleeding. I just hope I don't get some kind of fungus. My wife was out kayaking and she just had a terrible fungus for about 3 or 4 months on her hand. Nobody knew what it was, and it was from kayaking in a fish pond where there was a lot of carp and stuff, and so I guess the water somehow, anyway, you don't need to know all about that, but anyway, it was a bitch. It was just absolutely horrible. It was like flesh-eating stuff. So I hope I don't get that. So anyway, yeah. One other thing I wanted to point out, that knife right there. That knife. I went in and I got that knife and I sharpened it on the whetstone. And when I sharpen knives, I like to slice bits of paper with it and make sure they're good and sharp. And for some reason, I didn't put the knife down over there where I needed it. I carried it with me. And I stood here and I thought, you're an idiot. So I laid the knife down on the rock. And I thought, how many times Christians get all pumped up and they go sharpen their knives, they put their spiritual armor on and everything like that, and they think they're all cocky and stuff, and then they go out in the world and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and they get hurt. They get hurt, and then they get disillusioned and they give up. So I laid that knife down because I knew that if I would, as I was getting into the pond, if I fell, there was a chance that I'd stab myself. I mean, anybody that knows me knows that's a very good possibility. So I laid the knife down there on that long rock, and I started to get in the pond right there, and what happened? I slipped on a rock and fell flat on my back. And I just laid there and laughed. It was exactly what I knew would happen. So, anyway, I hope some of this can speak to somebody. Feel free to pass on this note of encouragement to anybody who you think could use it. I'm not a preacher, but this is what I felt God showed me while I was down there in the water up to my belly button. Don't let things go, folks. And that goes for me too. I've got more work to do in the pond. I've got each corner of the pond has stuff I got to pull out. Way down there in the end, I got to pull out more pickerel, more devil's ivy. Down there, I got to pull out pickerel. It's just an ongoing thing, and I apologize so very much for this being so long, that I really honestly felt it was necessary, and I'm trying not to ramble. Hopefully you get my point, and hopefully maybe it's a warning, maybe it's a sign, maybe this is your last sign. I don't know. But anyway, I love you. God loves you. Keep your stick on the ice. Until next time. But those images, those are all roots. Those are all roots. They were tangled around the extension cord, the cord to the pump. They were tangled around the airway, the life-giving support to the pond where those bubbles were coming out of. Yeah, those roots cut off everything. And you just think about that. And I'm sorry for taking up so much of your time, but y'all have a good day.